I know you can say, I know you
Okay.
can say that's not the best to listen to. I know it depends on what station you listen to. The older country is not as bad as the new country from a Christian perspective, but this was a couple months ago, man. I think I might have said this before to you guys, but they did a study or whatever. I mean, it's common sense, obviously, but they're backing it with science um that there's like I mean I should have listened more, but it's like there's a couple hundred fetishes out there, and they're saying that the guy was like reading off the thing, off the thing, and he said there's like a couple hundred, whatever it is, I forget. And he says scientifically there's only two normal fetishes out of the couple hundred, and the rest of them are just you're just weird. I mean, ain't that crazy? Because so most of these things that in this topic technically fall under that. It's a fetish. It's a weird thing in your brain where something's gone wrong, and this is what you like.
Yeah, I mean, because when we're dealing with not just ethics, as in what do we think, but Christian ethics, what does God think? How does, what is God trying to inform us as to what is correct? I mean, there's what he created as good, very good, and then there's everything else.
Right.
And
But
we live in a very everything else society.
there's a lot of that everything else anymore, huh?
Yeah. I mean, literally, it's just like, it's almost like make it up as you go.
I
I
have,
mean,
hey Donnie,
yep.
$5 is gonna cost you.
do you think that it's the when you visited Africa, like the culture is kind of different over there? Is it generally the same, just different as opposed to here?
Over there, things are a lot more, or,
Subtle.
I mean, being a tourist there for a week and a half, I mean, you
Hard
don't
to
see,
judge. Yeah.
it's hard to judge, but I don't remember seeing any, you know,
Flamboyant gay people walking around. Huh.
yeah, I don't remember seeing
Right.
anything non-traditional really,
Traditional in what sense?
like man and woman.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
Yeah, I don't recall seeing anything too off. But I was over there with a Christian group, for Christian purposes on a Christian
Yeah.
college campus and at Christian schools. So I probably wouldn't have seen any of that anyway.
Well, I mean, I don't know, man. There's you can apparently be a Christian and be gay anymore, so.
Well, that's what some try to say.
Hmm.
So our textbook, I mean, it comes out swinging right away. It talks about the 2015 decision to allow same sex, and we've already quickly gotten ourselves into the deep end of things where once you open the door to anything else other than the traditional husband and wife understanding, you open the door to everything else because you have the other group saying, well, if they can, why can't we? And if they can, why can't we? And it quickly spirals out of control to literally whatever the person's imagination it is dreaming up these things. So these advocacy groups, they celebrate whatever it is that they're trying to champion. But it
Hmm.
also seems like they're trying to paint those who are against what
As oppressors.
what yeah they're somehow bigots. They're against us. They are trying to actively work against us, and they try and liken this to the denial of civil rights
Yes.
To African Americans in the civil rights days. Is it the same thing?
Well, of course not. You
Nope.
can't compare the minority to the majority.
Okay, but what else
Oh,
might?
but you're talking about specifically the yeah. Oh, well, no, of course not. I mean, there's a lot of insinuation and assumptions and that argument to be made, that they're the same thing. I mean, kind of apples
Okay.
to oranges argument in it.
Well, I would think so, but it sounds like they're arguing not. It sounds like they're arguing that you need to be for us.
I would have to hear exactly what they're. I mean, unless I don't have the textbook in front of me, but finishing up on them. But I mean, I would have to hear an exact argument from someone to actually rebuttal an answer to that because that's a very broad subject.
It's almost, oh, it's not almost, it's basically not, um, what's the term? More celebration than actual being affected by something,
Okay.
especially with the LGBT stuff. Like it's like they more celebration
That's what they
than
call it, though, but it's not, I don't think that's accurate.
they
I think
want.
they say, I mean, I think they say they're celebrating it, like they had those pride for that, festivals and stuff, but I don't know. I don't feel like a celebration when they're putting it right in front of you.
Yeah, it's more, and it's not celebrating, it's more promoting it that
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So is being from this community, is it a choice?
Of course, everything's a choice.
Well, is skin color a choice then?
That's the only thing you don't get to pick in life is where you're born and what you look like. That's about it, man.
Okay, so it sounds like they might be saying that you can't help who you're attracted to.
Oh yeah, that's of course that's always the gay person's agenda is you can't tell me what I'm not attracted to. Okay.
So they're saying they're born this way, just like someone of a different skin color is born that way.
Do babies crave having sex? Yes or no?
Not to my knowledge.
There you go. There's your answer to your question.
So we have to kind of figure out where the boundaries are on this.
I
And
found my book. Here it is.
and like I said, it's important that we think through these things because if we were in like a high school setting, which this very well could be a discussion in a psychology class, how does the mind work? Or you know, government, government policies, or I mean, this may be a very real discussion, and the teacher in that class is not likely to, say, let's think through these things. It would be like, here's the information, and this is factual, and just deal with it. But we're looking at the moral boundaries. You see, the sexual revolution of the 1960s and 70s has given
Yeah.
way to the hookup culture, where you know
Feminist movement.
where the act of intimacy is essentially disconnected from any type of
Uh,
meaningful relationship. I mean,
have you heard of the argument that the feminist movement was like the beginning of the end of well, people say women's rights and voting. You can say that too as well, but I've even heard people say that it's more that they can say that or they can say both or they say individually that that's also the beginning of the end of sexual ethics, sexual ethical things like that because it really is that really was when the point where it started taking this turn to what you see now. I mean, because if you think about it, women stayed at home, married to one, and then after the feminist movement, it started headed into a different direction.
yeah.
I mean, that's just, I mean, I kind of do agree with that thinking, honestly. I mean, if you do look at the history, that once the feminist movement started pushing for women's rights and stuff like that, that the role of the woman and what they did and how they lived their life and everything, it changed dramatically. And I mean, I can see it. I can see that point, that argument being made, that point of view. Sorry to get off on track, but I just throwing that out there.
I kind of got lost in that a little bit. Can you
Oh, you're
summarize
sorry.
them?
Sorry, I have my dyslexic brain has.
No, that's all right.
You're good. So the feminist movement in the early 90s, before that, the traditional, household was one man, one wife, had a couple kids, right? Nuclear family, right? As you get into war after World War II, right? So you have World War II, World War One, that's where, times were a little bit tough after the Great Depression, right? Early 1910s. You get into that World War One, World War Two, the economy's doing well, right? Right?
Yep.
History, okay. Then you get to the feminist movement, those things slowly start changing, right? The woman is now has, I can vote. I don't have to stay at home. I can work a job. I can do whatever I want. I don't have to wear these clothes, right? The tradition was slowly started to change. Oh, it didn't happen overnight, but I mean, hell, after that started, that's been almost 100, no, 60 years now that started kind of going that way. I mean, if you look at then compared to now, right? Just off the images in alone of the history of a imaging of a history book, I mean, you can see the changes, right?
Hmm.
Does that make more sense?
Yeah. I mean, it's a slow evolution. You don't just flip the switch all at once. I mean, the what our country, what our Supreme Court justices legalized in 2015 had been uh, working toward in concerted effort since I think 1980, 1979, 1980,
Oh,
when
wow.
homosexuality
Was it the mental disease?
was taken out of the list of mental disease.
Yeah, did you hear what Trump said? They say he's going to start putting people like that into insane asylums to the extremes.
I had not heard that. I've heard he said some pretty crazy things here in the last week or so, but
This was
I
actually a month or two ago, a little bit
okay.
longer ago. But I mean, yeah, I mean, people, I've said that for, I know, I'm a young little kid, to some people's eyes, but I said that for a year. Man, it's probably been 2 or 3 years now. I've said that. Like when people have been talking about gay people and this and that, and I'm like, yeah, yeah. Fun fact, man, do you know in the late 90s they used to say if you were gay, you had a mental disease, and people just look at you like you're crazy, man, because
That's what it was.
it's so normalized nowadays.
Yeah, and that's what they're trying to do with everything else too. And I mean, I know that people want to think it's progressive to have an open mind. I mean,
It's not though, not on that.
but you know, one of my
But
go
in
ahead.
my and I like talking to older people. My grandfather, I talked to him about this a couple years ago, or about 5 years ago or more. He said, "Man," he said, "you know what?" His exact words are, he said, when I was in school and growing up, or even after school, he said, if someone was gay, he said it was around. He said, of course it was around. He's a Christian, right? I've told you about it, but he said, you wouldn't hear about it. He said that they did that stuff in the closet, and they kept it in the closet. Now they got that term where coming out of the closet.
Yeah,
He said, and when people try to come out, he said, he's 82 by the way. He said they tried to come out and stuff like that, he said, cover your Christian ears. He said they got the shit beat out of them. You know what I mean? He said, but now look at it now. He said they're out in the street just doing whatever. I said, yeah, you're right.
yeah. I mean, it's there. I mean, it's not going.
It's not going away as fast as it came. As fast as it ain't going away, right?
It's not going away.
Got Donnie smiling, man. Got him smile on his face.
But we have the scriptures as our guide. We're not. It's not my ideas are better than this other guy's ideas, or this other guy's trying to say his ideas are better than my ideas. We're hopefully we can both look to scripture Now, the side that tries to advocate for, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, is probably not looking to scripture. But as Christians who have dedicated ourselves to Christ, we need to know what the biblical view is.
Excuse me.
So we have Genesis. This is where it all starts.
Are you on page 318?
16.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
So we have Genesis where it all starts, where it all comes together. And we have what is called the creation mandate. What is that? What is the creation mandate? It has two things.
I'll let Adam get that one.
In the beginning, God.
Okay. I say that a lot. I could see why you would say that would be the answer. That's wrong.
Is it become one flesh?
Not quite that far yet. Well, no, that is part of it. That's one part of it.
Yeah. Or is it like the
We're supposed to do something to the earth.
well, you
cultivate the earth.
You come on, I was gonna say that. I was gonna say when he gave Adam, his duties and all that stuff. I was trying to figure the word for it.
Yep. So you're supposed to work the earth. You're supposed to subdue it.
Yeah.
What else?
Well, it's like he gave provision. He gave him jobs. He told him he let him name the animals. He gave him something to do, and then he gave Adam someone to be with.
Okay. And what were they supposed to do together?
Be fruitful and multiply.
Be fruitful and multiply. So be productive, make more people. That's the command. So
Pretty straightforward, ain't it?
So the command to make more people means that you're supposed to do the things to make more people, but you're supposed to do it in the way that God says to.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, if everybody was gay like they want it to be, that's what Satan's plan is. There ain't no more people. Ain't that crazy when you put it together like that?
I mean, yeah. I mean, putting it like that, what if everybody was gay? I mean, that's just I don't even know what to say to that. That's
Can I say one that's a little bit more vulgar, but it was from a pastor?
Try to clean the language up if you do.
Okay. He said, you know how silly it is for people to be gay? He said, you're playing with people's butt uh, all the time. He said, you know how silly that is? Just think about that. He said, because that's what it is. He said, you're playing in poo. I said, oh, okay,
That
yeah.
is
Yeah, but that's what it is though, ain't it?
that is I mean that biologically that's correct.
I mean, I know it's a little it is a little bit, but it is truthful though.
But this idea of be fruitful and multiply, it sets the boundaries for who can be involved. That men are supposed to be with women are supposed to be with men. It sets the boundary for that. That is the relationship. So God has established that the procreation happens with men and women, not men and men, not women and women, and that's the created order. To go outside of that is going against what God has called very good, called good and then very good. And I think, well, I know that our world has lost sight of that. I mean, can you run a car with the check engine light on or with any of the other dash lights on? Sure you can. But eventually something's going to go badly wrong, and maybe to the point where it can't be fixed. When we are taking it upon ourselves to run creation how we think we ought to, apart from what God has kind of set in order, I mean, it's like running your car with all the warning lights on and just avoiding them.
Well, it's like worse. It's like it's been on for a while. Huh. You're in borrowed time type, situation. Sorry.
So the intrinsic goods of marriage include, the man and woman bond, but it later becomes the symbol of love between Christ and the church. The church is referred to as the bride of Christ in Ephesians. That's a whole different picture than we get from King Solomon, who had 700 wives and 300 concubines.
He thought that was a good idea too.
Yeah. And I think we mentioned it somewhere in a previous chapter, but if not, I'll go ahead and mention it. The Bible does not outright condemn or prohibit, you know, polygamy, like taking multiple wives.
Oh, it doesn't?
But it never gives us an example where things worked out well.
I didn't know that.
It never gives us an example where this was a good idea.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So, yeah, 1,000 women, 700 wives, 300 concubines, not a good idea. I mean, just turn on and I haven't watched any of the episodes, but I hear that some of them get pretty involved, is the show Sister Wives.
Right.
I mean, I don't see that being a good idea, and there's a lot fewer than 1,000 people on that show. But we get to Sodom and Gomorrah, which is one of the big problems that the LGB community has to overcome.
Yep.
So, what do they say about the Sodom and Gomorrah? Because it seems pretty straightforward in the Christian reading and understanding of the account. How did they get around that?
Old Testament, so it's Old Testament. Well, they
Okay.
also say that Sodom and Gomorrah and the man should not lie with man and boy should not lie with boy. They try to use that and say the Greek or the Hebrew. It doesn't actually mean what it means, but it does. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Any thoughts, Adam?
I've had it. I was trying to when I was at Kroger. I had a coworker who was trans, but also a Satanist. He was like, "Well,
Lord.
why did she was like, why did God commit genocide?" And I was trying to explain to him, but at that time I didn't know a whole lot,
Mm-hmm.
and um, but she ended up being like, I respect your opinion, I, but I don't know if I could do that. But I was like, at least I got that far to saying with what I didn't know
Uh-huh.
that she respected it.
Okay.
But now with what I know, I wish I could have gone back and said it better. But
So let
so they just talk about genocide, so it's a very common thing.
so the LGB community tries to say that the problem with Sodom and Gomorrah was that the people of the town were not hospitable to the visitors from the outside. And that's a really really big stretch in interpreting. And I'm going to say that you really break some rules in interpreting to get to that understanding. I mean, when you have scripture, saying that there was a basically a mob at the door saying, send, throw your, bring your visitors out to us so that we may, and I'll use the polite words, so that man may lie with man.
Mhm.
I mean,
Pretty much.
that's not being hospitable. So we have in the law code, or in the law, Leviticus 18 and chapters 18 and 20, every intimate relationship that is sexual between heteros, that is, except for hetero, man and woman, everything else is prohibited. All forms of incest with relatives, being homosexual, adultery, uh, premarital, uh,
Bestiality.
that also, and also prostitution that has to do with cults,
Hmm.
in any cultic religion. And what was interesting to me as I was kind of going over this in the textbook is that it says none of these is singled out as being any worse than the other.
Yeah, they're all equally terrible.
I mean, they're all equally horrible before God's eyes.
Well, terrible to yourself as well.
Well, yeah, terrible to yourself as well. But I mean, think about it. If you saw any of these news stories, if any of these were actually news stories, you'd probably think some were worse than the other.
I don't know. Maybe worse in a different area. I think they're pretty
I
terrible.
mean, we see premarital stuff happening all the time, and adultery happening all the time. So much so that they're not even illegal. That
Yeah,
they don't even shock us when we see those things going on.
there's laws to protect for protection. So
I mean,
yeah,
homosexuality, we protected that. Incest, we protected that.
a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, so a lot of this stuff is doesn't even shock us anymore. We've actually protected some of it.
Hmm.
And it says in this next paragraph down, keeping the creation ideal of the family intact and free from undermining influences was considered central to preserving Israel as a society set apart as God's holy nation. Shouldn't this be the objective of the church also? Shouldn't we continue to be against these things that try and infringe on one man and one woman? Premarital, adultery, homosexual, incest, cultic prostitution, and intimate relations with an animal. I don't think the church should be out of line at all in taking a stand against all of those. Any thoughts, questions, comments?
Yeah, that's why there's LGBTQ churches now because they all stand for that. So then when your regular church takes a stand against that, then they're like, well, this church down the street, it's not really a church, obviously, as we know, common sense. It says that, it's okay. Well, then this other place looks bad and they look good. I mean, it doesn't really matter, obviously, let them burn type of situation because that's what it's going to be. Sad to say, but I see that as one of the big problems now for stuff like that because it is such a terrible thing.
Mm-hmm. So we have the wisdom literature. We looked at the Old Testament law. We look at the wisdom literature, and it is, I mean, there's no short supply of being shown that, intimacy within the proper bounds is seen as something that's entirely blessed by God. We are so quick, we are, we have taken what God meant to be wonderful between two people, and we have cheapened it so much so that we use it to sell products. We'll put somebody just barely enough, covered enough to be considered legal by our legal standards, and we'll put them on a billboard, or we'll put them in a magazine ad, or we'll put them on an internet advertisement, or whatever it might be, and use that to try and sell whatever it is we're trying to sell.
Hey, Don,
Yes, sir.
I feel like we have desensitized ourselves as a society so much to where the connection base and like just everything as a whole, we don't even, as a society, we don't even know what's to be sensible.
Yes, we have lost the ability to be embarrassed about things like that. And I don't know what the answer is. I mean, without just retreating into Christian culture and training your family to just be better, I don't see our culture changing. I see our culture burning to the ground all around us, and we're too busy looking into our phones or whatever else to notice. The New Testament also right in line with the Old Testament law, wisdom literature. We still see the Bible holding true in that, one man, one woman. We don't see, the New Testament all of a sudden saying, "Oh, we're going to do something different now," or God's going to bless something different now. God's not the mean God of the Old Testament anymore. He's just all about love and acceptance. And so, whatever, whoever, however, no, we don't see that. So the Greeks, that was the culture mainly, the unchurched culture that was mainly New Testament. They believed some things that caused them to think maybe they could do some things outside of Scripture and still be okay. They had this idea that the body and soul were two completely separate things.
That's what hookup culture is.
Yeah, that's a good way of describing it. Where it's almost like if you put, I'm trying to think of a good way to describe this. I really can't without making it.
It's in that book I read, Dualism, Separation.
Yeah, it's dualism. That's what it's called. It's where you believe that you can do whatever you want to do in the body, and it doesn't affect the spirit.
Right.
Your spirit is not torn down by whatever happens to your body. So there were some that had the idea that you should almost like punish your body, starvation and whatever else, because somehow that made you more spiritual. That made your spiritual side more pronounced. Then there was the other side that believed you could live it up however you choose to interpret live it up, because whatever happens to the body, the spirit's not affected. But according to Scripture, according to the Apostle Paul, a person's body is as much a part of him as his or her soul. The body is to be maintained with utmost purity and care, since God will redeem it at the second coming. So we want to make sure that we give God something good to work with, a good foundation to work with. We are also one with Christ. We are members of Christ and one with Him. So we should never become one with anyone else other than our spouse. And the believer's body is also the temple of the Holy Spirit. We are given the Holy Spirit at baptism. So we should care for ourselves. We do not have the right to do with ourselves whatever we want. We've been bought with a price. And we need to always be mindful of that. And part of that is avoiding anything bad we could fall into. So then we get to the top of page 322. This little subsection gives us kind of a little tangent on this idea. Ashley Madison. You guys remember Ashley Madison, or are you too young to remember that?
Oh, I remember.
When there was like
Chat. Yeah.
massive fallout and panic because Ashley Madison is, because it's still operational from my understanding,
It is.
it's basically a get online if you're feeling lonely and you want to participate in a hookup. You just get on this website, and I'm assuming there's money involved. And you just pay your subscription and you just put your information out there, and then I don't know how it works, honestly, but somehow it works to where people meet up to do what they want to do, and there's no strings attached, and whatever
Well,
else.
some of it was supposed to be like was supposed to be with her because she was like she did some other stuff and whatever blah. I don't even remember. It's pretty much she's willing to do whatever, you know. And some of it was supposed to be with like real people, and then it turned out that like people were getting scammed and stuff, and they weren't like it was like before AI was like really AI like now like it's really not even that advanced, but it turned out to be like fake stuff. Like people were pretty much like losing money, and so that's what was part of the issue with that is that it wasn't real people and people were paying for that. And that's what it was.
Well, people would sign up for this, but then hackers got in and they stole all the subscriber information and they published it on the internet.
Yeah.
And I think, if I remember correctly, I watched a CBS, ABC Nightline story
Hmm.
on this. I think they said there were like 2 or 3 counties, not states, but counties out of all the states that did not have at least one subscriber. That is
Yeah.
crazy.
What year was this? It's been a little
Uh,
bit ago. 2015 it says right there.
yeah, I think 2015 is when
I mean,
everything
I
broke
mean, that
loose.
was before I mean, that was a big deal that
Yeah,
was going on.
and then as I watched this ABC Nightline story, people were on there who had gotten interviewed, and they said, "I just got on there to see if somebody else was on there." I'm like, "Okay, this is a story we're going to sell." I just signed up so I could see if somebody else was on there.
Well,
Okay,
see, my buddy was on there, so I paid $100 or whatever I
yeah,
paid, and then I actually stayed on for a while, and then before I know it, I liked it.
yeah, yeah. That's kind of what I was thinking the whole time I was watching some of those interviews. But I mean, there was massive fallout, and
That's funny.
I mean, they lost like 50% or 60, 70% of um, their business. But at the end of the Dateline story, they said that there's not been quite as big of a push in advertising, but um, faith from the subscribers has returned, and they have as many subscribers as they did before all the major fallout happened,
Huh.
and they're doing just financially. They're doing just fine, raking in the millions and billions. That's insane. But then we go the other direction with this, and because we're talking about the ethics of sexuality, and we get down to singleness. That first full paragraph, the first indented paragraph underneath that section says, First Corinthians 7 affirms singleness and suggests at times it may be more expedient of a life choice than marriage. What's that all about?
You hear a lot of people that say the opposite too, though.
Okay.
I don't know. I have a friend of mine I just talked to today. He's a little bit older than me. He's in his 60s, but I mean, he used to do three times as much of bad stuff as these people did out there, hookup culture and all that stuff. And he's like, man, I love being single now. I said, I don't do nothing. I don't go nowhere. He said, I love it. I think it's better than when I was married and married and doing all that other stuff too. I mean, there's people out there that believe that. And then I know people in church that say this opposite. They're single and they're like, I can't wait to get married or have a
Mhm.
girlfriend or something. I got nothing. You know what I mean? He's like, I can't stand it. So
Yeah. Yeah. I've met people from both sides that
yeah,
they are perfectly fine just being who they are. They're not from within their person, they're not led to find someone else, and they're perfectly fine.
I think both are okay. I think it just depends on where you land on it.
I
But
think,
I think you got to make your mind up because there are some people kind of like me a little bit. I've been both. Oh, this, I want that, or this, or well.
well, there are implications that once you pick a road and go down it for so long, that the potential for going the other direction makes it harder.
Right,
Like
right,
if you wanted to have children and you're age 50,
hard.
you probably still could have children, but you with health concerns and stuff, how many, you know are you going to live to see them be adults themselves or whatever? And I mean, I know there's always no guarantees in life. People have accidents and whatnot, but once you go down a road for a certain amount of time, and I think this is the big tragedy in the women's liberation feminist movement that we
Yeah, they wait too long. It's too late, and the wall gets
is,
them.
is that there's a
Yep.
certain amount of childbearing years and time, and some women get to the end of that time or past that time with career mindedness and whatnot. I'm not saying that that's wrong, but then realize, oh,
It's too late.
maybe I wanted the other two, and there's no going back to have your own biological child. No, there's always adoption. There's always other forms of you know having children.
Well, the statistics prove that too, because there's a lot of, there's more statistics showing that, because of this hookup culture mindset that there's a lot of women that get into, their 30s and, the doctors are telling them, man, you're kind of too late. You shouldn't have the kid. The statistics are proving it because, they get into their 30s, no husband. Now you gotta find a husband. You gotta find someone that wants kids. I mean, that takes time, and then time you get all that, how old are you by then? Is it too late? Is it safe? So that gets into the other part of the book we've gotten into with the IVF and all that other stuff.
Yeah,
Um, but that is a real thing nowadays, and I see a lot of it, and you'll see a lot of that online too.
but scripture seems to land on neither is better than the other. As far as um, being married or being single, scripture seems to paint both in a good light. And I think that's important that we make sure that someone who's chosen the single life isn't somehow looked at as less than. It's just that's a choice they've made or a path that they've just walked down. So I think we're at a decent place to take a little bit of a break, maybe 15 minutes or so, and come back. Come back at 7:15. Take some time to digest some of this information and see you in a little while. All right, let's get back to it. So we are going to look at intimacy in the world of the Bible, page 323, 24. And this entire section I just have labeled as wow, just wow. When you look at some of the reasonings for some of the things that went on, culture was largely patriarchal, therefore women were passive or inferior in some way or another. So therefore, intimate relations was somewhat the same way, where you had a what we might call more dominant partner and a more passive partner. So this turned into, well, relations are okay as long as everything's consensual. So then that turned into men with younger boys, and it was considered you were considered to be a real man if you were the dominant person in this exchange. So I don't even have words for that, really. I don't have words for that as far
You're,
as to how this is, how the reasoning all lines up.
it don't make sense, does it?
It doesn't. So in the New Testament, nowhere in the New Testament does Jesus directly address same-sex relationships. He indirectly addresses them, but does not directly address them.
Well, that's something the gay people say. That well, that's when you can just say read Matthew 19. He doesn't say two guys get together, two girls.
So the argument from silence should never be taken as evidence of his affirmation of this. I mean, you could go the other direction with it and say the argument from silence could mean that it is so foundationally evident that he should not have to say it.
Correct.
We talked about in I know you both took the class, but I don't know that you took it at the same time. The celebration, the discipline life class.
What about it?
We read Richard Foster, Celebration of Discipline.
Yes.
In the section on fasting, It's one of the spiritual disciplines. The Bible never anywhere commands fasting, but every time we see it, mentioned in Scripture, it says when you fast or as you fast. It doesn't command to fast, but it says when you're fasting. It's like it's almost so foundational that it just assumes that you're doing it. It assumes that you're fasting. I mean, it could be this same thing for Jesus here. He just it in this culture, it's just assumed that man with man is wrong or woman with woman is wrong.
Romans 1.
Romans 1, what does it say?
Come on, man, you make me say it.
Oh, I thought you had it looked up already. I thought you had it pulled up and ready to go.
Well, I mean, it's, Paul says, and he's looking around, he sees all these people, and he says, your conscience bears witness. Your conscience knows what's right and wrong. You know, the first time you had sex with this with the boy, as a boy, you knew it was wrong, but you still did it. Why is that? Because God put his laws in your heart.
Yeah. I mean, so this is the world that Jesus or that the New Testament was, operating in, where we had these Greek ideas over against, the creation norm. So we have some that want to just dismiss the Bible, particularly Paul, because Paul's the one who wrote most of the letters to the churches, saying, well, Paul was just it was just the time period. It would have been too progressive and too radical for him to say that same sex was okay and that everything would be all right. No, according to what we just read in the previous section, first century would have been prime time to start, saying, hey, whoever, whenever, whatever.
Right.
And I mean, they could have flooded the churches with non people with non-Jewish background, and they could have taken over the church. So that just doesn't make sense to say that. So they have to come up with another argument. So the argument then becomes, well, Paul saw the orientation, same sex orientation, as coming from a perversion that was a consequence of idolatry as a rejection of God. So we're idolizing ourselves and our own ideas more than God, is kind of the suggestion being made here. And it's true. I mean, we are idolizing ourselves and our own ideas. And essentially, we're saying, God, you created everything and how it all works together. But me and my infinite wisdom know better. So we get down to this other approach to try and make it okay. And we say, well, when Paul prohibited same sex relationships, he only really meant religious prostitution of the men, because this was idolatry in the worship ceremony. No, it's still wrong. I mean, do, can you follow the logic there? Because it's really hard. It's grasping for anything to try and build a case for what somebody in their heart has predetermined that they want. Yes, sir.
I've even heard people say, since Paul's really the only one that says anything against it, if you really look at it, besides the Old Testament, which we already talked about that, is that, oh, he wasn't, he didn't hang around with Jesus. You get into that topic. He's not a real apostle. He wasn't a real person. Did he even exist? Did he know what he was talking about? He was just a Jew. So you get
Yeah.
into like that type of stuff. Like I've heard a lot about that, and I'm like, I don't know. It's kind of it makes me. I do. I mean, to be honest with you guys, I want to say this to other people, but it makes me wonder. It's like, dang God, like you could have just said something in Matthew 19. You could have just put a two words. You know what I mean? Two those maybe two words, a couple words in that verse, and it would have solved this problem. You know, kind of what we're talking about because it makes me wonder. It's like why didn't he do that? You know, it's like I don't know. It just makes me it makes you wonder. You know.
Yep. But I mean, who's to say that somebody might not one of our translators might not have translated it away or
Yeah, that's true.
translated it to kind of soften the blow of
Other stuff.
yeah,
I thought of that before
yeah.
because they done it to
Another
other verses too. So yeah, it's possible.
yeah. So
Go ahead.
another approach, the Bible only has a problem with sexual excess or other sexual relationships outside of loving and exclusive relationships.
I don't know. You guys stick to Genesis on that one. You know, the first chapters
Yeah.
for that argument.
Yeah, it says prohibiting same sex relationships. The Bible is not condemning a person to celibacy, only requiring that he or she curb overindulgence. Advocates of this approach insist that nowhere in the Bible does it prohibit sex between committed married partners. Whether same sex or opposite sex, most advocates for same sexual relationships argue that the Bible simply does not address same sex committed relationships. It's because it never gets to the point of sanctioning a relationship, whether it's committed or not. It doesn't get that far with God in the Bible. It's like if you're in a I mean, if you are found with another person of the same sex in this compromising position, in the Bible's view, God's view, it doesn't matter if you're committed or not. You are in the wrong. No two ways about it. No further explanation needed. It doesn't get to the point of asking the question, well, are you two in a committed relationship? And then the final approach, top of 327, is where Paul gives his reasoning. He intends to prohibit all same sexual behavior. It's a universal truth. Like I said, it's universal. It doesn't matter if they're committed or not, doesn't matter if they're in love or not, in the inappropriate way. I mean, we know that there's like, bros are bros and, brotherly type love, and that's different. But if you are lying with a man lies with a man like he should a woman, it doesn't matter if they say they're in love, doesn't matter if they're in a committed relationship. It is universally wrong. Paul appeals to universal truth and he appeals to the created order. And that's important. Paul's reasoning is grounded in the created order because what was the first? Well, really, what are all the other reasons based on?
What reason are you talking about?
When we said that Paul was held hostage by the views of his day, or that orientation was a consequence of idolatrous rejection of God, or
It's all false.
that it only pertains to religious prostitutes, or that it only pertains to excessive overindulgence. What do all those have in common?
Saying being in a gay relationship is okay.
Okay. What else?
I don't. I mean, it's the only thing I can think of. I don't know.
They're all grounded in the very first argument. The these are just lifestyles of Paul's day.
Oh, right, correct. But they're not though. They're the same. You know. The Bible tells us the same as the son as days of son of man should be days of Noah. It's the same then, same now.
So when Paul ties his reasoning back to Adam and Eve, Adam and Eve predate all culture. I mean, they were the only two people in the entire world. They were the culture.
Hmm.
And so when he ties it back to that, he ties his reasoning back before any cultures at all. And that's important when we try and discuss this with someone else, and we say that homosexuality or any other type of non man and woman sexuality is wrong. Paul ties it all the way back to the first two people. He doesn't tie it to Abraham and Sarah. He doesn't tie it to Noah and his wife. He doesn't tie it to Jacob, the head of the 12 tribes. He goes all the way back to the first two people when they were the only two people.
Well, that's when it was before it was sin had entered the world too.
Yeah.
So that's how God wanted it, or he,
So
you know.
Paul is appealing to creation, the natural created order. One man, one woman created with innate tendency toward opposite sex attraction. And when sin entered the world, different ideas entered with it. They are against the original design. And sometimes we hear arguments like, well, I was just born this way, or whatever we might hear. And I have no doubt that somebody is sincere when they're saying things to that effect, because each of us are prone to different tendencies towards sin. There are people that cannot walk past an opportunity to steal something from somebody. There are people that have the proclivity to lie for whatever reason. I'm sure there are people that have these tendencies of attraction toward the same sex. But God has labeled it what it is. It's wrong for the person to lie. It's wrong for the person to steal. It's wrong to engage in behavior of this kind with someone of the same sex. God has spoken. So we have to, well, we can't be permissive of the behavior, but we have to understand we are speaking to real people with real feelings, and that we must speak the truth, but do so in love. For the love
78.
for
Sorry,
the
go ahead.
love of for the love of the truth.
70, 80%, I think it's like 70, 80% of LGBTQ people have been informally been abused and will abuse someone else, and the cycle continues. And that's why it's such a bad thing, because it just keeps happening.
Yep, it says it down on page 328, kind of what I was talking about. It says many same-sex attracted individuals maintain they have never known a time in their lives when they were not same-sex attracted, which underscores the fact that the orientation is not usually chosen. As a general rule, people are held accountable only for those things that are conscious choices. Thus, the attraction is normal or normally not something for which people are morally culpable. though the orientation is a departure from the original design. However, the behavior which is chosen is something for which someone is morally accountable. So it's the things that we freely choose to engage in. Now, I'm not sure that I completely agree with, which underscores the fact that the orientation is not, well, I guess he says usually chosen. I think the created order is that we are naturally geared toward, the opposite sex. But like you said, violence, some sort of traumatic happening in, in youth and early youth can affect someone in this way.
I think most of the time it's sexual, but I mean, I know some studies say that it's just abuse in general, but either way, it's still terrible.
So what we must do as Christians in the church is we must be careful just to distinguish. And maybe it's because someone may not be as skilled with thinking through the words that they use, but we must be distinguished between those who would say they are Christians who struggle in this area versus non-practicing homosexual Christians, because there are no homosexual Christians,
Yes.
because they are putting, they're still saying that they have given themselves over to this way of life, or they've given up the battle and saying this is what I am. I'm just choosing not to engage in the behavior, but it's still what I am. Versus someone who's a Christian who might say, I struggle with this daily, but I'm not giving up the battle. I'm struggle with it, but I'm not wearing the label or taking the label. See the difference?
Yep.
And we must work with these individuals as best we can as the church. You see it. I think it's a failure of the modern church to recognize the distinction between someone who has these attractions and someone who's engaged in this behavior. It is not saying that we sweep the behavior under the rug, or we label it as okay for this person because they really struggle with it. No, we as the church also need to be understanding from the point of offering help and support. Because like we said, once again, God has spoken, and that's kind of it. We don't have a ground to argue with God and to bargain or barter on, where the line of right and wrong should be. Any thoughts, questions, comments? So we have the groups that take their position, but like we saw in as soon as it was legalized and everybody wanted rights, and they achieved rights in 2015, the line got moved. And when I say the line got moved, it wasn't just about legal standing and acceptance. it became a political movement to challenge the way of life some people have chosen. We see in this story on 330 this paragraph long story about three businesses that were heavily challenged by the LGBT movement because they wanted to refuse business
Chick-fil-A.
in in catering to a gay wedding.
I know Chick-fil-A got some big backlash.
Mm-hmm.
What's the catering one?
Um,
Is it in the reading material?
yeah, it's on page 330. It says pizza shops, florists, and bakeries. The guy that wouldn't bake the wedding cake.
I mean, the thing that I remember about a couple of things was like, they have the right to demand service, they don't have to serve you, you know. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter
Yeah,
like what
and
that I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I remember hearing a lot about that. It's like, no, they don't have to serve you. If they don't want to, they don't have to.
well, that's kind of what it came down to. But these court cases were in figuring that out because the business world is not supposed to be discriminatory. Um,
Right, but at the same time though, if I have a reason, hey man, I can't get to you or I don't want to, I mean they should have that right, I believe so.
they should. They absolutely should.
But I do think that a lot of that has gone too far to the one side, which I think it's okay to say, oh, don't discriminate against me, but at the same time it's like, oh, you're discriminating against me, blah 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 blah, but it's really not what it is though, you know?
But this highlights what I call the myth of neutrality.
Right,
There are no there's no neutral side in this because the other side won't allow for it.
right,
If you oppose gay marriage and maintain that, or the opponents of gay marriage maintain that a new era of discrimination has arrived against those who hold traditional views of marriage. Those who hold traditional views should not be labeled as bigots, nor have their businesses and livelihoods destroyed because of their views. They argue that we should be able to run our business how we believe we should run our business according to our values.
right.
And that's what millions of dollars have been spent in the courts trying to figure out.
Which is just a waste, if you ask me. Trying to figure out if you cannot serve somebody or not. Like, come on, man. Just my opinion.
Those who are supportive of gay marriage want to eliminate all exemptions on the grounds that these exemptions legalize discrimination against their particular group.
I mean, it's like we're back at it again.
We're back at it again.
It's like the same thing. It's the same thing with a different title.
That's what it
I
is.
I mean, I literally I know I mean people hate me for saying I'm like it's the same thing, man. It's like I don't know how else to say it, you know?
It is. It's repackaged and called something different, but it's the same thing a lot of times.
If they don't want to serve you, they don't have to. Like move on, man. How hard is it to get? You just want to be accepted so badly by everybody that you get so upset when someone says, "No, I'm okay." I mean, that's what it is. I mean, I really think that's what it is. People get so upset that everybody's ooey gooey and everybody have to accept me. So when one business says no, I'm okay, and they don't give you a reason, you get so upset. Oh, discrimination. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. Okay, well they don't have to if they don't want to.
You're
I mean, like
exactly
what's the Constitution for? Free. I mean, you have selective free wills. That's one of them. That is one of those choices. I don't have to serve you. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent, but I mean, that's it though.
because it's all about personal autonomy. It's my
Yes.
freedom, it's my right.
Yes.
And we've gone so far down the it's my right that
It's not even applicable.
a lot of rights or a lot of wrongs have been made right by rights.
Or you go so far to making something a right that it is a wrong. I think you just said that, didn't you? I think you kind of did.
Yep. Because, like I said, opening the door to one group, it doesn't matter who goes through the door first. As long as somebody gets to go through the door, the argument's the same for all the groups. So all the groups are going to get to go through the door eventually. That's why they're all lumped together. Because we say LGBTQ, they're 4 or 5 different groups. There's the L group, the B group, the G group, the T group, the Q group. They're all different groups, but they all have the same argument. They all have the same legal argument, so they all band together. They all pool their money together, and whenever somebody has to go to court, and all the special interest groups, they band together because they know a win in court for one is a winning group for all. All for one and
Right.
all for one and one for all.
Yup. And they're all minority groups, you know?
Yeah.
They're less than 7 of the population, I believe so. Less than 10%.
Then we have this story down here at the bottom of 333. I had never heard of this. Parents marrying adopted children.
What the? I don't remember that.
I guess this was a way to get some sort of legal standing as being bound together as family. So after the legalization of gay marriage, they went to court to undo the adoption so that there could be a marriage. I shake my head at some of this stuff that
You see,
people.
it says genetic sexual attraction.
Oh, that was a different story then.
Excuse me?
Yeah, this was a parent that gave up their child for adoption and then later found them, that they reconnected and became romantic. And because the child was not raised by the parent, they're saying that this person never really was my parent. So it should be okay that we get married.
I wonder why they look the same. Very similar looking.
Yeah. And then the last part of that at the top of 334 was the one I was talking about, where
Oh, okay.
there was
Sorry.
an there was an adoption, and then they undid the adoption so that the marriage could just. Where did people come up with this?
Yeah, it says it right there. It says, yeah, so they could get married. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's one for the books, literally. Huh.
So then we go the other way with this, and we talk about birth control. Some argue that the mandate given to human beings in Genesis 1 and 2, be fruitful and multiply, makes it mandatory for married couples to procreate and have children, since the goal of the mandate was to fill the earth. So you have to have children. It's a must. If you don't have children and you're not married, because you have to be married to do those things rightly before God to have children, it's sinful to not be married, and it's sinful to be married and to not have children.
I, I don't, I,
I don't think that's what it says at all, but that's
well,
what
I mean,
some of
I
the
don't know.
argue that's what some try and argue.
I mean, how is it a sin if you haven't done anything? I mean, I don't know. I think that's a little silly, honestly.
It is because
I,
the idea of becoming married and doing those things, it is procreative, but it also, bonds two people together.
I just think it's a little bit of an immature statement to make. I don't know.
Well, I mean, look at where we've landed in some of the things we've talked about over
For the last hour.
this semester, but yeah, this last hour.
Yeah, well, yeah, good point.
So, advocates of birth control insist couples have stewardship responsibilities both to their family and to the broader world. Therefore, should avoid having more children than they can properly parent or provide for.
Well, I mean, what if you can't have kids then? So it's a sin to have sex?
Is it?
I mean, that's the same. I mean, come on, man. That's such a, yeah. I mean, but that's, yeah, sorry.
I think that's the unitive purpose. Man and woman, becoming one.
Okay,
It,
what if I have sex for years and years and years with somebody and I'm a male and she's a female, but she just can't seem to get pregnant? That's my fault, right? I'm a sinner. Oh, throw me in jail. Like, come on, man. That's so goofy.
so what are we talking about here? We're talking about controlling the bringing about of the next generation of little people.
Boy, yeah,
So we're talking about exercising some control, exercising some dominion over this.
correct.
So is it not within our own scope of God giving us charge to subdue the earth? I mean, is management of, how many people and when the people come along,
Well,
is that not exercising our creation mandate to subdue the earth?
well, I mean, Finland just came out with something, and I think Greenland or Iceland, one of them, I forget, but a couple European places have said that, hey, y'all aren't, talking to the government saying, statistically speaking, you guys aren't having children, so we're gonna literally pay you pretty well to have kids
Mm-hmm.
because of this same argument being that's currently being talked about because they're like, oh, there's not going to be anybody in X amount of years because people aren't having kids. So they're trying to incentivize it because, oh, they're looking around.
All right. So at the bottom of 335, we see in italics, most agree that contraceptive methods are morally acceptable. So we must define what we mean by contraceptive. And the reason I say that is because if you look up contraception on Google, you can get into some pretty iffy definitions. And life begins. I mean, this isn't even theological. This is a biological statement. Life begins when the girl stuff and the boy stuff, you know, meet together and new life is formed. That's a biological fact. So the only contraceptive method that is truly contraceptive is to somehow physically keep those two substances from meeting together. Otherwise, anything that takes place after that, if we are causing that, even if we have made a medication that makes the womb inhospitable to implantation. We have caused that. So, I mean, it's what this textbook calls an abortifacient. And there are men in the world out there today, because the number one pusher of the contraceptives and stuff like that was the Planned Parenthood, because you go there and it's free. They're not going to tell you how. They're not going to tell you how it works. They're just going to tell you that it works.
Yep.
So
it works by it.
I mean, the best thing that I can say is, to any couple, is make sure you know how
what it does.
The thing that you're using works, because there are theological implications.
There's a funny episode off The Office, a pretty popular TV show a little bit ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And they're talking there. It's like a meeting, situation talking about, abstinence. And one of the guys on the show goes, "So you're telling me abstinence is like saying how not to go skiing? So how to not go skiing is to not ski at all." He said, "So how is that what that is?" He said, "You're just not doing it. So how is that?" He said, you know what I mean? I'm like, how is that? I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but like, how is that not practicing? You're just
Mm-hmm.
not doing the sport at all. I'm like, well, he makes the, comedy show, but I was like, he makes a good point, actually.
So then we have the gender dysphoria. I was born, my biological
Weak argument.
assigned sex at birth is different than what I really am.
Weak argument.
And we have some defenses for that. I don't think that any of them really hold up, but the three defenses are given at the bottom of 337. Each model, each of these defenses has something to offer the transgender experience. The disability framework recognizes that gender incongruity is the result of general entrance of sin not normally chosen, bringing a place for compassion to deal with other mental health issues. The diversity model is considerably more problematic, but perhaps in some way the one that perseveres the most, because the experience of suffering could be a redemptive part of their identity. The integrity model brings the theological understanding of the original design for gender differences. So each offers a leg of a three-pronged argument, to where some try and make this okay. And I mean, it's a weak attempt, but it's an attempt that's still out there. But I think what we need to realize in all of this, and I heard this quote this past week, is that we should never underestimate the amount of pain in any room that we enter into. And this is, we get so caught up in terms and terminology and news stories and things of that nature. We get lost on the fact that these are real people. These are people that Jesus would have at least reached out to. These are people that Jesus would have probably sat with and mourned over sin with. Not condoned it, not swept it under the rug, but he would have mourned with them. He would have sat with them through their struggles. And I think that would be, I mean, that's something for us to always be mindful of. While we don't have to condone what the lifestyle is, we can recognize that this is a real person that struggles with this. And that's really all I have for this chapter. Any thoughts, questions, comments, or concerns?
Well, the biggest one that we've already kind of it's kind of touched on is, you're no one's born gay, man. That's not a real thing. I hear that you'll hear that all the time with gay people. I'm born gay. No, you're not.
They have not conclusively found a biological link to that
No.
to say that you are born that way.
And babies aren't born coming out the womb wanting to have sex with the same gender. It's not how it works.
They've not been able to prove that.
Yeah. So,
But here's the argument that you can give, because they could always say, well, science is finding new things every day. Who's to say they're not going to find this tomorrow? Then you have to have an answer. So what do you say when they do find the biological link? Hypothetically.
right. I mean, I don't think they will. But fallen world is the only thing I can know how to answer. Some type of fetish or something.
Even if they do find this, God has still spoken.
Right.
And we could say that if there is a biological, physiological link that ever is established, we could conclusively say this is not the way that God created it. Therefore, it's a product of a fallen world. Now, that's not saying that they are born with sin. They are born with a struggle that some other people don't have. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Look like you got something you're thinking about there.
Yeah. I mean, days of man, son of man, days that get worse. It obviously says in Revelation that the, sexual promiscuity and sexuality and gay stuff will be worse. So I can see it happening. So that would just make it more okay. And what you can do then, right? See it
Mm-hmm.
more.
Well, that's all I got. Any anything further before we think about closing out? All right. Well, I'll close this out with prayer and leave the lines of communication open. Lord, thank you for allowing us to be here to discuss and think through some things that are pervasive in our society. We just ask that as we may encounter any of this, that we're able to demonstrate Christ likeness and draw from a biblical position in our hearts and minds to be able to offer, if given the chance and opportunity to do so. Ask that you be with those that we mentioned tonight in prayer, and be with us as we go our separate ways until we're able to come back together for our last class. Ask these things in your Son's holy name. Amen.
Amen. When is our last one? I was able to get in Blackbot on my phone the other day. I didn't
All
check
right.
the
So
schedule.
our last class meeting is next week,
Oh,
and
shoot.
then the paper is due the following week.
Wait, we got like two more chapters to go over though. Are you gonna cover all that next week?
Let me check the course. All right, so last week we did war. Tonight we did chapter 11. Next week we do chapter 12. Yeah, there are some chapters we're probably not getting to.
Oh, I see. So which ones will we not gotten to? Would it be? It'd be race, gender, border control, and then the economics one, right?
Yeah, the last four: ethics and economics.
Well, we talked about gun control a little bit though, and violence.
I don't. I don't
I
know that
mean,
we.
we didn't talk about it in the chapter, but we talked about it in class, so I
Okay.
remember. Dang, I read all those too. Oh.
That just means you're more informed, sir. There's nothing wrong with going ahead and reading those. Nothing at all.
Well, I'm gonna head out. I've got to figure out what we're gonna do tomorrow with, and then everything else. And hopefully that situation goes well so we can at least have a home. So
All right, man. We'll be praying for you.
thank you.
See you, Adam.
See you.
What's going on? I was listening the like the first 10 minutes I was here, but I didn't catch it all. I heard something about his home issue. I was listening, but it just wasn't a good. It was some noises going around.
They have a dog that goes against the community standards of their apartment
Hmm.
living, and the pound was not open today for them to take the dog. And the people that said they were going to take the dog, for some reason, ended up not being able to. So today they're supposed to have the dog gone by today, but they don't. So they're
So I gotta
hoping.
kick him out.
He's not sure. I'm not sure how much Adam may or may not over dramatize things in his mind.
Yeah. I mean,
Sometimes,
stuff that like that does happen though, because some landlords, I have heard stuff like that where, they're looking for a reason to get rid of you.
yeah.
So
Well,
that
I'm
does.
not. Yeah,
Go ahead.
I'm not sure how much is. I'm not sure how much is factual versus how much he may have overthought and kind of worked himself into a panic.
Yeah,
Because I know that his mom has the same tendency as well. So I'm not sure.
they double down.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, they do. Okay. Yeah. I mean, surely they'd give him a day or a couple days, It's just a dog. I mean, come on now.
Well, he said that there's plenty of other people in the same housing that have dogs just that big or bigger, but for some reason they're getting singled out. So
Well,
I don't
no,
know.
he could be right. Then it could be something then if they're singling him out.
I don't know.
So that does happen, like I said. So, well, one more class. I got pretty much got my paper done. I just got to finish the ending.
Okay,
I have it.
sounds
I,
good.
I have a little bit of an ending, but that was like 2 weeks ago and or a week and a half ago, and I just been busy and trying to get to it. So,
Uh huh.
but yeah, it's not as long as what I thought I was gonna be. It's like 10 pages. It's not too long.
Okay.
So I thought I was gonna go real long, and then other things started happening. I was like, oh, I ain't gonna have time for this. Sadly. So
Keep studying, keep researching. You've got a sharp mind and a good perspective that you operate from. So I mean, I'm excited for you to take some more classes and get further down the road.
yeah, I know it, man. I was just talking to my friend today, actually, on the way over here, where I was telling him about, I was like, man, I want to keep taking more. Obviously, you come here and take as many as you want. You know what I mean? Because he's like, how many they want you to keep going? I literally go, because I used to talk to him all the time, but I haven't talked to him in a couple months, obviously, because of all this stuff I've been doing with you guys. And I was just, and he said that, and I said, well, they'll let you take as many as you want. He goes, right, right. There he goes, yeah, you said that. That makes sense. But I was like, yeah, I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know how many I want to take. It says I mean, I like doing this stuff, but it is a very big commitment. You know what I mean? You really got to plan your day around it and get to the stuff and everything. So it's not that I don't like it. It's just you gotta be able to get to it, you know? So
You could do a weekend module where it's all your class time is in 2 days.
man, I've never done one of those. Have you done one before?
Yeah,
Is
as
it pretty hard?
as a student, I mean, it's not really any harder than this. It's just you get all your class time all at once.
So how long is that class? I mean, I don't know if you need to go or anything, let me know, but uh how long how long is it's like the whole day? Like you're there the whole day?
It's like it's like half of a
Like 8 hours
Friday.
or something?
Yeah, it that's what they put on the schedule. Lots of times professors won't go that long though.
Because that's like a lot, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of talking.
Right, and wear you
So,
out.
yeah, a lot of times they'll
Just give
say,
you this stuff.
yeah,
Yeah. But even then, but so you gotta go through it all and everything, and they still give you homework?
yeah, they'll just say, you had all the class time. Now here's the work. Have it sent in like within 6 weeks or whatever the date that's put on it is.
Oh, so you don't have to do it all in that same day.
Oh no,
I don't know. I have no idea. I thought that's what it was.
no, they'll say you've got like 4 weeks or 6 weeks to get it all turned in or something like that.
Oh. How's that much better? You still gotta do all the homework though.
You get all your class time in at once.
Oh.
For people that don't have a whole semester of Tuesdays to dedicate or whatever, they just like, okay, here's all your class time all at once.
Right, but I mean, do you think I mean the ones I've seen, I don't feel like they're like as good as the classes you could take for normal days. I feel like they're not like as par. Like I feel like they're like not weird, but like either really controversial or ones I'm like, oh, I don't who kind of wants to take that? I don't know, that's just my opinion. You don't think so?
I think it depends on what you want to do.
Yeah.
I've taken the history of preaching in the Restoration Movement, Doctrine of Man, Doctrine of the Holy
Ooh,
Spirit.
that's a good one. Ooh, that's a
I've
good
ta-
one.
I've taken all those as modules, and they were all good.
Huh. I mean, I haven't been around long enough. That was kind of, I don't know. Maybe I should take one, try it. I don't, the thing is, it's kind of scary to try that because then if it doesn't work out, then you just kind of screwed yourself. No? Yes? Maybe?
I mean, it's credit towards graduation.
Yeah. I don't know. Did they have I know, I'm just asking you all the questions. They got next semester made up yet? I don't think they do they?
I don't think it's been officially released. I know what I'm doing. I'm doing English and grammar on Monday nights, and I'm teaching preaching on Thursday nights.
I might be taking you again.
All right.
Jason wants me to take our writing or English stuff and all that good stuff.
Okay.
He told me I really need to take that. He said your stuff is real bad. I said, "Oh, thanks, man."
Oh,
He said it a little bit nicer, but that's what he was trying to say. You know how he is.
yeah. He's to the point sometimes,
Yeah, he's like me.
but he just wants to make you the best that you can be.
Yeah.
It's
So
all in Christian love.
no, he was right. Yeah, I sent some things in one time and said some things and he's like, "Yeah, man, your grammar's bad." I was like, "I know. It's my brain, bro. My dyslexic brain. I skip words to get words out." So, all right. Yeah, that's it. I think.
All right. Well, see you next week then.
Yeah, hopefully everybody shows up.
Yep, we'll see.
All right. Have a nice week.
All right, you also.
Bye.
Bye.